what's up? Zakk Wylde doesn't have a beard in this movie, and it freaked me out.
So weird.
It's weird. He has a giant butthole. It really freaked me out. It's like if you have a bald dad and you see an old picture of him with hair.
It took me probably halfway through this movie to understand that that's who that was.
I saw his name in the credits, and then I realized just based on his guitar move and a big chain having lifestyle that it was him.
I did think his tattoo was fake until I realized, I'm like, why does it look familiar, though?
And you're like, yeah, it's fucking Zakk Wylde.
Out of context, I had absolutely no idea who he was until you mentioned it. And I was like, what the fuck? I guess I can't picture who that is without a beard or knowing beforehand that it was going to be Zakk Wylde. I heard all the guitar squealing and I was like, interesting. Sounds like Black Label Society, but...
And it sure enough was. Folks, you're listening to Pod Minutes to Cast Night, the 2 Minutes to Late Night podcast. It's normally a podcast where we talk about albums that are critically reviled, and then we try to find something nice about them. We're now doing movies, but only movies about music. You're with one of the members of the 2 Minutes to Late Night Writers Room.
Hi, it's me, America's sweetheart, Katie Rose Leon, and #1 asthmatic of the year. I got on the cover of the magazine, and I sent me an award. It's a golden inhaler that also works. I'm via satellite because I'm mysteriously allergic to something in Jordan's apartment. And that's it, folks. That's all, folks.
It's not a mystery. I'm allergic to the entire apartment.
I'm Kat Jones, and I heard rats in the wall this week. So that's probably what Katie is allergic to in our apartment.
Yeah,
Ooh,
Katie
fun.
is probably most people are probably allergic to several New York rats.
New York, everybody.
Great.
It's the most magical place on earth.
We also just
You know they can dig through concrete, so have fun with that.
We have actually found their hole in the front. There's a tree outside and a patch of dirt, and there's a hole that goes underneath the concrete from there. And I think they have dug through the walls and into the basement, and then like in the hallway wall.
Yeah, we figured out the dig dug level that they're on.
City of Dreams.
Yeah. We're living in a mean person's Lego experiment. Like, that's the apartment. That's why our rent is cheap. That's why there are 2 bathrooms, is because everything else is a mistake.
Right. And if the thing breaks, they won't come fix it.
Yeah.
So
we're on our own.
Yeah. City of Dreams, really.
Yeah. Real dream hole over here. And I'm Jordan Olds. And I have been up since 3 a.m. because something in the upstairs of the apartment was on fire, and firemen busted into the apartment at 3 a.m. last night.
Oh, but were they sexy firemen?
They were. I don't even know.
Important question, Jordan.
They were moving so fast I couldn't tell if they were sexy or not. They were kind of just like protective blurs.
We're just going to say yes. Yes, they were.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I did not wake up because I apparently was dead asleep, but I'm just going to go ahead and say they were hot.
They were all very hot. I'm in a delirium. Every time we record this podcast, I have just left an experience that has left me in exhaustion.
To be fair, as someone who records an obscene amount of audio content, I will tell you that all podcasts are recorded in a straight up fugue state.
Yes.
I don't remember anything I say. It's like a total goldfish moment.
Totally. It's every time if I have to edit the episode, I'm surprised. Kat, did you listen to anything you enjoyed this week?
I cannot stop listening to the new Lana Del Rey album. It's amazing.
Cool.
It's
She's
really
so
good.
spooky and sad. You love to see it.
She's that sunshine spooky, which is rare.
Yeah, she's sunshine spooky just like LA is. Like, this album sounds like creepy paradise LA. It's very strange, but this is the first album that I've ever listened to of hers that has really grabbed me. And it has some serious Fiona Apple vibes in it. And if we can't have a new Fiona Apple record, I will take this instead.
Cool.
Happily. They both live in
Strong
Venice.
endorsement.
I have never been a strong Lana Del Rey fan. I gave it a shot, but it takes a special something for me to like something with that low energy.
Mm-hmm.
So
it sounds
I
like
got
Xanax for sure.
Yeah.
Like romantic Xanax.
Yeah. I like a miserable that's the side project of the front woman from King
Yeah, I was
Woman.
waiting for you to say a name after that.
Yeah, I was like, I realized I can't just say like miserable.
Yeah.
A miserable Whitney Houston.
Like
or
a
something
miserable,
like
yeah.
that.
Miserable is like a shoegaze project.
Right.
Whereas Lana Del Rey and Fiona Apple and those types of people are like singer-songwriters. So it's more about the lyrics than the reverb. And I feel like but it's the same type of feel. You hear the sleepiness and the
all three of those, they all go ooh. They all do that. They all do that, and I'm very particular with when I like it. I love a Fiona Apple. I love An Extraordinary Machine very much. I don't know why that's my.
It just
Fiona
sounds
Apple.
like it's just not your thing. Like, because all
What?
these things are related to each other. It's okay just not to like one. You know what I mean?
Fiona's
yeah.
probably the least sleepy of all of those.
Yeah,
though.
she's not.
It's much more like waltzy and piano-y.
Totally. I meant
Yeah.
more that just like with Miserable and Lana Del Rey's very similar, just sleepy vocal stylings. I just like, I'm particular with my sleepy music. I think
Sleepy,
it's,
beautiful people.
yeah, it might just be that I'm bad at sleeping and so I'm very grumpy about sleepy things. But who knows? Katie, what did you listen to this week?
I tried talking to you guys about this last time, but I've been listening to the new Knocked Loose album, not Knocked Up, which I keep accidentally calling them literally in every conversation it's come up with, like multiple times now. I am very dyslexic, so it's a whole thing for me. I usually don't listen to things applicable to our show, but here we are. I really love it, except it is very funny because they're clearly like 19 or some shit, because every once in a while there's a lyric where I'm like, you can just tell your mom you're mad at her.
Yeah,
But,
for sure. I like a Knocked Loose. They're hardcore. They have real low, heavy riffs and really young, highish bird boy screams.
Yeah, I want to act like I don't love that shit, but I fucking love that shit. You know,
Love
it's
it.
like you can leave Long Island, but it's still a part of you. And it's just, yeah, it's gonna be fall soon, and I either want spooky hardcore or spooky Xanax music like we're talking about. So I'm ready. I'm
Perfect.
ready to feel ways about stuff, whether that stuff is me punching the ground furiously or staring over the dock and thinking about a lover who drowned.
Well, might I recommend to you that you watch the K-Pit video that Kerrang did with Knocked Loose.
Yeah.
It's very good.
I watch every one of the K-Pit videos. They're so good, dog.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's just legit.
I'm just now realizing that I think, you know what? I think the singer of Knocked Loose isn't a bird, but I think he is a small dog that is loud, but that you love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When
It's
we were
like-
doing the stream of that K-Pit, the comments, a lot of them were like, he sounds like Mickey Mouse a little bit. And I thought that was really adorable. Like, I was like, that's perfect. He's like the angriest Mickey Mouse ever. And that band is so good. It's like, it's the weirdest combination of things being that, like, you know, breakdown, chugga chugga, and then Mickey Mouse.
I love
You know,
it.
I historically have always loved bands with singers with what we will say are unique voices. I think it's because I sound like a straight up Muppet, and when I hear other like Muppets in the Wild, it's like a weird mating call where you're like, oh, my own kind, you made it to the stage. It's like inspiring and relatable, and also like, yeah, because I'm a very angry person, but when you sound like this, no one takes it seriously, and it makes you want to yell.
I was just talking about this with a friend. We were talking about how when people don't understand why people don't like their like favorite band or something, and it's one of those things where it's like I also like all my favorite things have a very distinct weird vocal style. And so for me, when someone says they like hate one of my favorite things, I kind of completely understand. At the same time,
Yeah,
I know that the vocalists that I like aren't for everybody.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about that a little bit on the episode where we talked about Devo and Kevlik.
Yeah, klezmer.
The Norwegian boy.
Talk.
But yeah, like I like music with really strange vocalists, or like that is really angular or weird or hard to get into or super art school. And when someone's like, I don't like that band, I'm like, I totally understand.
Yeah, for sure.
The world would be very
embarrassing we're
boring.
even having this conversation, but
The world would be so boring if we all liked the same stuff.
This week, I found out that there's a country album of just really dirty South Van Halen covers, and David Lee Roth just sings on 2 of them. So it's just banjo and acoustic guitar versions of just like Jump and like Jamie's crying and stuff, and David Lee Roth is singing it, and it is the weirdest and greatest thing I've ever heard. I love
amazing.
it so much.
That sounds
Can I say
delightful, and I'm
something?
actually kind of disappointed that you didn't tell me about that because I need to listen to it immediately.
So good.
I was about to say, like, how are you two not listening to that together? That sounds
Yeah, I'm
beautiful.
like,
But also,
excuse me,
David Lee
I'm
Roth
personally
makes
offended.
tattoo cream, and I bought it when I was high, and it turns out it works really well. So that is my plug for
What's it called?
for ink
It's just
tattoo
called
brightening balm.
Okay, that's amazing.
Tattoo brightening balm. I'm gonna get
Buy
it.
some.
I would.
You can put it on your Van Halen tattoo.
I know. That's my. It's all coming together. You know. Let's talk about this movie. This week we're talking about the movie Rockstar. This is very much for me. It's the same thing as Airheads, where I saw it just on TV all the time, and I think it actually was one of the first things I ever saw Mark Wahlberg in. So I assumed that Mark Wahlberg was just like hair metal trash for most of my life. So when I found out later that he was a rapper, spun my head around.
That's pretty.
An
hilarious.
underwear model.
And an underwear model. Do you guys have an experience with this movie prior to us having to watch it for this podcast?
I had never seen it in full before, but I had seen like 15 minutes of the ending on TV one time. Like I saw just the part where he like hands the microphone to the person in the audience. That's the only context I have for the whole movie. And I was just like, this movie seems weird.
Yeah. Good instincts, Kat.
And that was like maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago. So it's been a long time. It's about time for me to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. Katie?
I've literally never even heard about this movie until it was brought up to me by the group. Like, I didn't know it existed. I didn't know anything about it. It had been wiped from my slate. So this was a experience that I went through.
Yeah, this is a movie that I saw, forgot about, and then Jeremy reminded me. He reminded me of it by saying that, like, by talking about how this was inspired by the Judas Priest story, which is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, for so many reasons, it's insane.
This to me feels like just how this whole movie worked out. Did you guys ever read any of those articles about like Sacha Baron Cohen quitting the Queen movie?
Oh, yeah. I was following that closely because when they first announced him as Freddie Mercury, I was like, that's actually excellent casting. And then everything else came out about where the Queen movie was going. So when he quit, I was like, good on you, bro.
Yeah. This is very much, it seems very similar to the way that Hollywood was interpreting the Judas Priest story. Like, oh, this is what the band is very much like in the articles about Sacha Baron Cohen, he like left the movie because they were like, they want Freddie to die in the middle of the movie, and then the rest of the movie is about how the band carried on without him. And that's not how the world sees Queen. The world doesn't see Queen as a successful thing despite Freddie Mercury, or that they moved on to make great stuff without him.
Yeah.
They just view them as like a band carrying a legacy. And I think Hollywood also viewed like Tim Ripper Owens filling in for Rob as like in a similar way, where it's like, and nevertheless they persisted without Rob. I don't know anybody.
The whole perspective of this movie is fucking insane. It posits a world in which a band can lose the lead singer and replace it with literally anyone, and no one bats an eyelash. Just like a showgirl's revolving door of people pushing each other downstairs and just jumping on stage, and now it's like, and now you get to be in Led Zeppelin or wherever the fuck. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah, I noticed that too. There was nothing believable about this movie at all.
It was really funny when I did a little bit of research of the movie, and apparently when it was announced that like a guy from a Judas Priest cover band was replacing Rob Halford, like it was like our newspapers were like, a fan replaces the lead singer of his favorite band. Like Hollywood was like, that's a story. That's crazy.
Right, and not like making a movie about Rob Halford being the incredible person that he is and like the revolutionary that he is, and leaving the legacy as like the first out gay frontman in metal. Like, it's insane to me that they would pick the Tim Ripper Owens story and not the Rob Halford story.
Totally. Well,
the way that they portray, this is a very homophobic movie. I think we can all agree. There's not a lot of the homophobia on camera, but when it happens, boy, you're like, what is even the point of this?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. This is one of the most just over and over and over again homophobic movies I've ever seen. Like, it is the first 30 minutes of this. Every scene has like a gay joke in it.
Well, I'm not disagreeing, but I'm saying I've seen a lot worse. And also, you got to consider the time period. That was literally every piece of media that was coming out at the time.
The era
and I'm not
when
giving
like
an excuse.
everyone
I'm just
was
saying everything was really bad from like 1995 to, the early 2000s. That was just like the F-bombs were just everywhere.
Yeah, it was the era when like the phrase "that's so gay" became mainstream, and no one even thought about it as being homophobic because it was just like what your friend said at school. Mm-hmm. And I was always like the person being like, don't say that, that's mean. But the average person just like, it was like constantly in movies. And I remember people being like, it doesn't mean that. I'm not homophobic. It's just what you say. It was just like a pervasive part of pop culture. So yeah, again, like to agree with Katie, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but I do think that the perspective of the time was a little different.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that this didn't happen. Like, I'm very aware that like, I can't watch Ace Ventura anymore because the second half of that movie.
Yeah.
I'm used to like watching old stuff like this and seeing, one scene has the big homophobic joke or mention or something like that. I hadn't seen something where it just keeps happening over and over. Like,
really? I'm not disagreeing with you. I just feel like every time I watch something from this time period, that's my experience.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. I see like, maybe it's just because I guess I just don't rewatch stuff from the early 2000s ever.
Like, why would you? It's also ludicrous that that's happening, and they lifted this story from Judas Priest.
Right.
Like,
and they make it all about like that they do kind of make it that like they're getting a new singer because he's gay, because they're kicking him out because he's gay.
Yeah, they kind of imply that, which is wholly fucked.
Yeah, they like try to say it was like that you're late, but then the guy goes and makes a speech about how he doesn't do drugs or any of this stuff. Like, so it's like, okay, well, that's really fucked up.
There's so much insane stuff in here. It's like, why would you even want to base it off that story when it's like, clearly the people who made this movie or not interested in the music, because it was supposed to be about a dude in a heavy metal cover band who gets to be in the actual heavy metal band. But all the music in this movie is all over the place. There's a fucking Talking Heads clip at one point. I'm like, why would you put that in a movie about hair metal? And it's supposed to be over a period of time, but it's like 1984, and then it's 1999, and then vaguely no other time. It's so fucking weird.
Yeah, the time period I couldn't keep track of. Real quick, I 100% see the appeal in a story like this, but I think the way they told the story is nuts. It's again that thing where, like, if you're telling music stories that you want to feel resonant, it's just got to be about how it sucks, and not in this Hollywood way of like, oh, the drugs and the sex make it suck. I'm like, no, the whole thing kind of sucks. Like, it needs to be that this guy who's taking his cover band too seriously, like, he's the villain of the piece, and then when he joins the band, it's just got to be that the audience kind of hates him, because they do. Every new lead singer, the audience fucking hates you for a long time. It takes a lot to reestablish yourself. There's
to win people over.
If you join a band and you're the second vocalist, you're doing that forever. I know so many we even talked about it on the Bled episode. We talked about Seosin. That band had that guy, Anthony Green, on a 5-song EP. And then they got a new singer when he left, and they made like 4 full-length albums. And then there was a Riot Fest reunion with them, with Anthony Green, and people are paying out the ass. And I'm like, what even songs is this guy? There's only 5 songs with this guy. They want there's just something really specific about an original singer of a band that people really no one gets over in a way.
I totally agree
that's the story.
With all of this. I just think this movie is bad for so many reasons beyond
so
that.
Many,
there's no salvaging it.
Yeah.
First
How
of all,
old is he?
it posits where is he? Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
It posits a world in Pittsburgh where everyone's paying up the yin-yang to see cover bands, and then the bands that tour wear the same outfits every night, and you can just buy the outfit. It's just like there's so much banana shit that I couldn't get over.
Before the internet, when you can look up like, you know, so-and-so's jacket, and there is just like a remake that you can just buy. This is, you know, the late 80s, early 90s. You would actually have to make that yourself.
Totally. And you were also like, the band they studied the lore of is Kiss for this movie. Like, Kiss, you can buy the outfits. Kiss has armies of fans that dress up exactly like them and know every single detail. Like, they study it like it's comic book nerddom. Like, they know like
and
the
they literally
CGC
have
rating of their boots. They have comic books too. So it's like they wanted this Judas Priest story, but they just shoved it full of like stuff that only makes sense in like a Kiss universe, but even beyond that. Like, they're playing, like, the cover band's playing a concert at an oil rig. You can't fucking do that.
I mean, you might have been able to in the 80s, but it's more just like, there's just so many wild things to me about this. Like, my favorite thing, okay, so they made up a bunch of fake bands, right? The main band is called Steel Dragon. What a horrible name. And they don't mention any real bands for the whole fucking movie. There's even a scene where Mark Wahlberg holds up a record to his little bro of just like some made up metal band. And then near like the last end of the movie, one of the guys in the band mentions Rat. And I'm like, who had it out for Rat, man?
I kind of love that that's the only real band they mentioned. I feel like Rat gets lumped in with a bunch of shitty bands, and they were actually really great.
I love Rat.
I love Rat.
Yeah. I got no qualms with Rat, man.
I'm from Queens. I love Rat.
With rats in our apartment.
Yeah.
To bring it full circle.
If the band Rat was crawling around your walls, wouldn't be mad.
Just waking you up at 3 a.m. Round and round.
All right, boys. Boys, it's time to go to bed.
Okay, you guys. It's Tuesday.
You're all
I
like
have work in the
65 years
morning.
old.
Then there's Jennifer Aniston's in this movie, and we have to discuss it because I have a lot to say. First of all, I have trouble seeing Jennifer Aniston anyone other than Jennifer Aniston in a movie, and it's not her fault.
She is just Jennifer Aniston all the time.
Yeah.
I honestly really loved her character. And the reason I loved her character is I feel like in that era, women are always, or not always, they're often only portrayed as like the Madonna or the horror character, and like they have to either be extremely uptight and bitchy and like never letting their man off the leash and like not understanding any of the rock and roll world, or they're a groupie whore. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
and she
I was gonna say like
this,
I want to see her movie because she had a really interesting arc that we didn't even get to see.
Totally. But like I loved that of all the insanity of this movie, she was given real depth and intelligence, and she was like this fun, understanding woman who was like, I don't care, go do your thing. I also am going to go do my thing. And like she tries out the orgy, she tries out the partying and getting drunk and does all the stuff, and she's like, actually, it's not for me. Like it's a perfect balance of like a really well-rounded woman character in a rock movie, and I feel like they're in that time period, at least, there were not very many of those.
I like the idea. I do want to see her move. Like, I want to see her go, like, yeah, go to Seattle with Rachel, whoever the other person was. I want to see, like, her leaving the tour in, like, the first 15 minutes, and then the rest of it is figuring out Seattle. Because in the gaze of how they're portraying her in this movie, like, she's just really perfect, like, because she tries out the drugs and the orgy and everything, and then is like, you know, she just puts up with so much. It's a real sitcom wife kind of thing where she puts up with so much shit from this guy who didn't have a job and was in a cover band. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a lot of bullshit.
I don't know, man. Straight people in small towns do all sorts of crazy shit when there's one cool dude around.
Or zero cool dudes around.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Ian's going to the cover show?
Well, just really quickly, when I said that before, obviously I wasn't using the word whore like as myself describing a person, because I like groupies a lot and think they're fucking awesome. But, you know,
yeah,
using
Madonna
it like
horror complex is how it's a film trope.
yeah,
I knew what
just
you
in
were
case
getting
anybody
at.
listening thought that I was using that word to mean something bad. But
no. Sex work is real work.
fuck yes.
Or even if you're just having fun, that's also fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, banging dudes in bands.
Yeah.
Who hasn't done that? Except for Jordan.
Me, but it's not for me not feeling that I'm boring. I do think it's boring that I'm not fucking dudes in bands.
There's still time, Jordan.
There's still time.
I
yeah.
believe in you. You
I
know,
hope so.
women
It's
age
one of
out,
those-
but men have a higher shelf life, as we learn through American society. So, you know.
Right.
All right, let's talk about his cover band. The first scene with the cover band just does my favorite thing, which is the band argues about something that is music related, but bands don't talk about anything that way. You know what I mean? Like
The guitar's squealing?
the guitar squealing, like you gotta play like you play like they wouldn't.
This movie suffers so greatly from clearly nobody knowing anyone involved in music, even a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
there's
so
so
funny.
much banana shit like that makes no sense. My favorite of which, several times in this movie, they are playing live on stage in front of a large crowd, and full conversations happen
Love it.
on stage.
Yeah.
Like an insane, like you'd be able, like when you're playing live, like I haven't been in a band since high school, and even I know, like, you can like maybe lean over and just be like, hey, watch out, and like that's about it. You can't just be like, hey, we really need to discuss your position in the band, and we need to talk, you know, we really need to have an in-depth conversation. Oh yeah, I'm sorry you feel that way. Like, while someone's like soloing, that's
Yeah.
fucking banana.
It's so bananas. I laughed so fucking hard. Genuinely, when I was watching it, I was like, I want to just do a sketch where mafia men are playing a concert, just a loud concert, but then they have to have very dramatic mafia conversations. Listen, Jimmy Prosciutto, he's wearing a wire. What? Get the fuck out of here. And someone's playing a solo at the same time. I think
Jimmy
it would be
Prosciutto. Like,
this show is so full of prosciutto jokes.
I mean, I love smoked meats. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'm too old to lie about being vegan anymore, okay? It's just, none of you straight edge weirdos are gonna call me back, so yeah, I like smoked meat, okay? Welcome to my mafia sketch. But yeah, you know, I'm just saying, like, if you had a lead singer in a band who was always, like, walking off stage while you'd be playing, you'd be like, no, what? No. Stop doing that.
Yeah, you got to knock it off. My favorite, like, wrong bandism was at the very end of the movie. I'm skipping ahead. I don't care.
Yeah, let's do it.
When they're... This was the craziest thing in the movie is, like, the like, final straw for Mark Wahlberg for some reason, which really comes out of nowhere that there's even a final straw in him being in this band, is when he comes in and goes, like, drops album art that he drew himself, and then is like, I wrote all these songs for the band, and then the band is like, actually, just how this works is me and Peter, or whatever the guy's name is, like, we write all the songs. And then Mark Wahlberg flips the fuck out about not being able to write originals, even though at the beginning of the whole movie is him not giving a shit about, right? Like, there's nothing that moved him towards
literally
originals.
Don't see him touch an instrument.
No.
You don't see him writing lyrics. You don't see a cheesy thing where he, like, tells, they don't have that, like, stereotypical movie music movie moment where they're playing it, they're like, something's not right, and he's like, try it like this. They don't do any of that shit. He shows zero interest in doing anything except being in his favorite band until literally the last 20 minutes of the film.
There's nothing that, like, pushes that arc at all. And also just the way that the movie, like, villainizes the fact that there are two people that write everything in the band. It's like, that's most bands. Most bands are two dudes writing all the stuff, not to the detriment of the rest of the band. It's just that they're like, well, they kind of know what they're doing. Like, that's how it works.
Also, you'd think that when he got hired in the band,
they would have told him.
Yeah, like, he would have had to sign something or at least have a conversation where they're like, look, you're a hired gun and that's all you're ever going to be, so don't try any bullshit.
Yeah. Or even, I don't know, like, he flipped out really hard at them, going like, well, you know, we write the stuff. You joined our band.
Yeah, they really framed it like the audience is supposed to feel for him and get mad too.
No.
And, like, empathize with
I know.
what an outrage this is that he can't write a song.
Even though the movie hasn't, the movie.
I just know if I was in that scenario, I'd be like, it'd be hard not to laugh at him.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
He drew an old, he said, no logo. And he drew the Used album cover that was in the Hot Topic I worked at.
The Taste of Ink or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, the one that has, like, the sad little heart. He's just like, no band logo. Like, it'll just be this drawing I drew myself.
Oh, God.
That's so insane.
You know what this film is about, really, when you think about it? They wanted to tell this story of, like, the biz and stuff, but really what it is about the most epic Punisher of all time.
Yes.
The, like, most successful Punisher.
Yeah, for sure.
He just hung out long enough. He did it.
Yeah.
Until his drugs and bad decisions humbled him to the point where he suddenly changed his entire personality and became Eddie Vedder.
Out of nowhere.
Like, I'm gonna join Lighthouse, guys. We're gonna do it.
That's the weirdest part, is that at no point does the movie, like, it doesn't allow him to be an asshole at all. Ever. Like, you're always supposed to be on his side. Like, when Timothy Oliphant, in the craziest wig I've ever seen, is just thrown in.
So bad.
That is what the hell was going on It didn't look. He didn't look like he was an 80s hair band. He looked like he was Mike Myers in Coffee Talk.
His character, what the fuck was that? Were we supposed to like him or hate him? I don't know. I honestly don't know.
He showed back up at the end. He really gives a shit about, like, intermittent solos in these cover songs. Like, that's such a weird thing for these two dudes to be fighting about, like, on stage. And I didn't know if we were supposed to villainize that guy. Yeah, for wanting to just throw in a couple of licks here and there that aren't hurting the song.
The whole movie was full of like weird gray areas, except for the main guy in Steel Dragon, where you're like, oh, it turns out he is bad.
Oh, yeah, the guy from The Wire.
This movie suffers heavily from early 2000s editing techniques, too. I would be remiss if we did not bring it up. The font that had on the opening credits made me scream. It looked like it was going to be Josie and the Pussycats or something.
It basically was Josie and the Pussycats, except for Josie and the Pussycats was a good movie.
Yes, that's one of my favorite movies. I love Josie and the Pussycats. But this, I was at the beginning of the movie, I was like, this isn't a hair metal font. This is Batman Forever.
Speaking of editing, the epic fall scene where he falls for like 5 minutes down the stage cracked me up.
There was so much slow-mo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like clearly the director had like watched Train Spotting a week before and he's like, we gotta do this.
We gotta do some fast mo. We gotta do some slow mo. I love slow mo where it just repeats. They clearly didn't prepare to do a slow-mo scene, so it's just like frame by frame. It's just real $6 million man business.
But yeah, like once again, like the costuming on the 80s hoes were like perfect, and then everyone else was just in this weird void of time and space. Where are we? Where are we going?
Everyone's outfit was really confusing, except for Zakk Wylde, but that's just because he's Zakk Wylde in the movie.
We forgot to talk about the unnecessary Batman car thing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that completely random scene for no reason. That was amazing.
Yeah, that's the only scene I remembered from the movie, because as a kid, when I saw this, like, the only thing I remembered is, if I got rich, I'd buy the Batmobile. That's it. That's all I...
Is that the point of the scene? Just to show like the excessive amounts of money they had for no reason?
I think so. I think they wanted to show that he's like, because he buys a new house and everything, and the car he chooses to buy is the Batmobile.
Sick.
Yeah, and I was like, I would probably do that. I would buy a Bat. Like if I
Certainly
had...
worse things one could buy with their rock and roll money.
I have.
I think just like someone filming was like, hey man, we got Adam West Batman car here. And they're like, fucking put in the movie, sick. Although it's probably less stonery and more coke fueled, but you guys get the idea.
Yeah. Oh, and then he buys the Batmobile. It's really funny that like coke ideas and then like 8-year-old ideas are the same thing.
Yeah. That checks out.
That's so real.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When I was 8 years old, I was probably just like, we should start a business together.
Wow. Well, this movie sucked, huh?
This movie just... Here's what I will say. Mark Wahlberg is trying in this movie.
Oh,
he clearly
everyone's trying.
He clearly doesn't understand exactly what he's supposed to be doing in this movie, but he is really giving his all to whatever it is.
What rock stars do you think he studied to get in character for this role?
The thing that's wrong.
Yeah, totally.
The thing that's wrong about it is he shouldn't have been studying any rock stars. He should have been just studying little nerds and just been a little nerd the whole time.
Tim Ripper Owens.
I guess I don't know a lot about Tim Ripper Owens, which was the thing also that when Judas Priest found out that somebody like optioned the story, there's like interviews with them going like, yeah, we heard that they wanted to make the movie of our story and we thought that was really cool, and they were like, yeah, if you want us to tell you how anything kind of went down, just, call us, let us, we're here to talk to you. And then just nothing ever happened. And they were like, well, okay. And then they saw the movie and they were like, I guess I was entertained. That has nothing to do with us or Tim or Rob. That was none of that happened.
Yeah,
That's not how it was.
It sounds like a classic Hollywood move where they just fucking heard like a snippet and they wrote a whole movie and just wanted to make that movie. I mean, luckily, there's no way to know this has anything to do with Judas Priest unless you fucking know about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, the only slight nod is when they see that like leather outfit in the recording studio hallway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that a recording studio or was that someone's house filled with memorabilia? Like, what the fuck?
I loved that weird mansion. I loved that when Mark Wahlberg gets dragged in by the manager and then the guy just leaves the recording studio and then no one escorts him out. That guy is just roaming that house unattended.
We just need to emphasize, if you guys have not seen the film, it ends with him taking a sincere trip to Seattle where they imply that he hitchhikes there.
Yeah.
And he cuts off his hair.
And he suddenly
puts
has
on
a guitar,
sweater,
even
and
though
Mark Wahlberg was feeling himself in that sweater.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
He loved it.
he suddenly has a guitar out of nowhere, even though he has never picked one up the entire time.
Yeah. I guess sorry, I just caught a bug with my hands. I didn't think that was going to happen. But I loved this, it was weird because this movie is from 2001 and it's the movie's trying to say grunge is the real music and grunge has been dead for 5 years.
Yeah, but it's like loosely based on another story, so it's probably supposed to be kind of like a period piece. I don't know.
What's the other story?
Yeah, I think
I'm Tim Ripper Owens.
Well, it's
I'm saying
I think they were.
The movie takes place in the late 80s, early 90s, so it's supposed to end when grunge happened. Like the beginnings of grunge are hair metal.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying that because of what it's weird that the movie is taking just a movie from 2001 is taking a stance that the real heart and soul of music is grunge.
Yeah.
And then in the early 2000s, we're seeing just all the negative repercussions of what was happening in the grunge scene. Because you got, Lane Staley just passed away, a year before this movie comes out. And it's just people are really talking about all the heroin
I think
at the time.
At this point, it was 2001. So I think we, in 2019, can look back and see, how bloated and overblown the grunge scene had gotten. And because it was record executives from all over were capitalizing on it and kind of leeching off of it. And it was on the runways in fashion shows, like flannel suddenly, it got kind of taken over and ridiculous. And a lot of people died and It wasn't what it once was. But I don't think that culturally we were aware of that in 2001. I think we were still in the midst of grunge was a cool thing. And also it was the height of the post-grunge bands like Lifehouse and Puddle of Mud and all those Yarly blonde guy hair behind the ears type of dudes. And I think that people were still moving to Seattle at that time to do something in the music scene. So it was still a cool place.
I'm seeing that. It's it was just funny in my head because the time is so vague with this, and Tim did, and since they were doing the Tim story, I thought it was going to be mid-90s. So I was I was surprised that he's in a grunge band at the end. I was I kind of wanted him to see him put on some Jinkos and get a DJ. I wanted him to start. Yeah, I was why?
That's when he
should have been in a new metal band at the end, and that would have whipped ass.
Oh my god, that would have been incredible. I would have really loved the movie if that had happened.
Yeah, if he's just it could have ended with Marky Mark actually doing some rapping. And that would have been great. I would have been excited.
Here's the thing. As I pointed out when we last saw each other, Marky Mark hates being called Marky Mark. So I was
shocked that they put a clip of his song in the credits because he's notorious from like railing against people when they bring that up to him. Like I heard a story about him guesting on SNL and someone brought that up to him and he like left in a shit fit. So I don't know.
Why would you talk about that part of my life to me? You're going to talk about my Big Shorts time?
How did it take us so long to get to imitations? It's because it's just you and you're the only one that likes doing it besides Drew and Jeremy. Like me and Kat are not going to fuck around with that shit.
Nope.
So.
I love a Mark Wahlberg impression. It's so funny. But I also have a theory on a Mark Wahlberg movie. Mark Wahlberg doesn't cry in this movie. And if Mark Wahlberg doesn't cry in a movie, it's a bad Mark Wahlberg movie. If he sobs like a tiny little baby, you watched a good Mark Wahlberg movie.
Which movie does he sob in?
Oh, Boogie Nights, all like the early
Does
David.
he cry in The Departed?
He might. I don't know. He's the only one that lives.
I haven't watched that movie in a long time. I'm just asking.
Yeah, me neither.
I think he's like a side character, but like Boogie Nights, he's just sobbing all over that movie, just like, why would you do that to me? Why are you being mean to me right now? And it's great. And I realized every movie he's in that is like an award-winning movie, it also has Mark Wahlberg ugly crying in it.
I do
and
love it. You love to see it.
I love to see it, and so do the critics.
Well, I think we've said everything we could possibly say about this mediocre movie. And
Well,
I'd
there's
like to
one
eat
thing I
dinner.
wanted to bring up that I forgot to mention before when we were talking about Rob Halford was that I noticed at the end when the credits come up and they have like the bloopers and stuff, because I'm not a film person. What's the thing called that you slap and you say action?
Oh, the slate.
The slate. Okay, so the slate says Metal God on it.
Yes.
And Metal God is, of course, Rob Halford's nickname. So they were originally going to name it after Rob Halford, even though it's a movie based off of Tim Ripper Owens, which is just mind-blowing to me. So do you guys know at what point they changed the title from Metal God to Rockstar?
Right before it came out.
So was that at the behest of Judas Priest, or was that just because they decided Rockstar was a better name?
No,
I should have looked this up before we did the podcast.
I did look this up.
Okay.
So yeah, because
That's crazy. That's so disrespectful. I'm so glad they changed the
I know.
title.
Yeah.
For real.
it's one of those things where I think they wanted to call it Metal God because there's also it is Rob's nickname, but since it's also the name of a Judas Priest song, like they were definitely going for like a Bohemian Rhapsody, like name it after a track, even though that's so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, they were about to put the movie out, and then the studio was like, no, change it to like Rockstar, because if it's about metal, it'll be too niche. If people think it's about metal, like they won't come and see it. So that's why like the cover of the movie is Mark Wahlberg in like an olive coat with a soft case guitar bag, and it says Rockstar in like Helvetica font.
Right. Because if it was like a leather and spikes type of situation, it would immediately turn off like 80% of the population.
I guess, yeah, that's what they thought, but I don't know. I don't know how well this movie did either way.
I think it did bad.
I think it did bad. Whatever. If you that's just one of those decisions where it's like, I don't know, if you didn't want to make a movie about, it just seems like they just didn't want to make this movie. Like every decision that they made, they were like, we want to make this movie about a guy from a cover band, like joining his favorite band. And, but what if being in a cover band wasn't lame and it was like really important and writing music sucked in this world? Okay, cool. And what if people loved whenever there was new singers or whatever? Like they just didn't want to tell this story at all.
Yeah. Like there was only one person on the entire staff that knew anything about music at all. And that person loves Rat.
Yeah, that person got Rat in the movie.
And other than that, no musical knowledge whatsoever.
Yeah.
They just like watched some concert footage on a DVD once, and they're like, I can make that movie.
One thing that is interesting is that I was looking through the Wikipedia of this movie is that it's because you pointed out that you liked how surprisingly well-rounded the Jennifer Aniston character is. I noticed that one of the drafts was redone by a woman writer, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, they did that. They did that fucking Hollywood thing where they just had like a female writer come in and write the woman character.
Interesting.
And probably she didn't touch any other part of the movie, but was just like, I'm pretty sure Jennifer Aniston wasn't doing like anything else in the movie, or they were just like making her like a bitch or whatever, like the
classic
like,
stereotype
a
of
stereotype
whatever,
of like what awful straight men in early 2000s thought was quote unquote a bitch.
I'm not going to let you off of your short leash to go on this tour, and you better not do any drugs at all.
Yeah. Literally just make her the mom from Almost Famous.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think I just
yeah,
noticed
or
that
also
was...
there's the stereotype of like the wholesome like small town chick who like seems cool there, but then as soon as they move away, it's like she can't handle it, which is kind of what it was, but not really. She was pretty
It
self-assured.
was because she wanted to go have her own life and start her own business, as opposed to like wanting to stay home and not let him have his own life.
It's as if you should just have women write the whole movie.
Yeah.
For real.
Final thoughts on this?
This movie's bad.
It's
I didn't like it. It was mediocre. It like wasn't horrible, but it was not a good movie. Don't watch it. It's bad.
I didn't mind looking at Mark Wahlberg's abs.
Yeah, that was nice.
It was like a redeeming factor in the movie that he always had an open leather jacket on. I was like, you know what? That's fine.
He's a handsome boy who always, gives, at least at this point in his career, 110% to whatever thing he's a part of. I did laugh every time there was like a really overdone Zakk Wylde little squeal guitar riff. I laughed so hard.
Totally.
I could just tell that he was just like in the studio having to record like the riffs or whatever for it. And he's like, what's this one called? And they're like, this one's called Stand Up and Shout. Oh, motherfucker.
Oh, but he was psyched to have so many lines.
Yeah, I can't believe they gave him so many. They had you edit so much of him because he clearly didn't say half of these lines. Like they had to like overdub him or like get him off camera just reading the line off of a piece of paper, and then they dubbed it onto his face afterwards.
Yeah,
it was
magical.
Getting Zakk Wylde to talk in this movie. It seems like something that you can get around by just having him have a giant beard. It would have been fine. It would have been like a Miyazaki movie where the beard just moves and then a voice comes out.
Yeah, just Mr. Ed that shit.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do plugs.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
You can find me at Twitter at Katie Rose or on Instagram at Oh Hello Katie Rose. Please listen to my other podcast about anime. It's called Ballin' Out Super. And it's pretty fun, you guys. All the place podcasts are.
Wow.
Okay.
You can find me on Twitter at Cat Jones Soda, or you know what's really funny about that is that the other day my coworker literally thought that my last name was Jones Soda. It's the first time it's ever happened. I was like, oh no, that's a joke about Jones Soda, and my name's Cat Jones. Ha ha.
Hello, I'm Cat Jones Soda, heiress to the Jones Soda fortune.
Yeah, it was
that
really
whole
funny.
Shoebox of three $1 bills
Exactly.
and some Polaroids that an art student took.
Anyway, you can find me on Instagram at Cat Jones with 3 O's. And
Cat
that's
Jones.
Cat Jones.
Hell yeah. Please follow 2 Minutes to Late Night at 2 Minutes to Late Night on Instagram, at 2M2LN on Twitter. Please donate to the Patreon. That's how we keep this podcast going. We're going to be also doing a lot, more live shows throughout the year. We're figuring out how to book it.
All over the fucking
We're all
place.
over the fucking place. You're going to see one of those live videos very soon from our Psycho Vegas show. We're putting that together. We got to do some extra stuff because we made a complicated joke at the end. That's it. That's how it happens sometimes. Sometimes one joke takes a really fucking long time to put together.
Sometimes it be like that.
Sometimes it be like that, and you can help it be like that at honorableswords.com. It redirects to the Patreon. You can see all of our tiers of all kinds of special stuff you can get from us. It's real fun. Hooray!
We're gonna be at Fest, and Jordan's Van Halen cover band Panamama with lead singer of War on Women Shauna Potter is gonna be playing the Halloween pre-show, so get your costumes and dollar bills, because I'm assuming they'll tip you like drag queens. I'm putting that out there.
Yeah, please do that. That would be cool. Also, I don't know how they would do that because I just found out that they're putting us on the big outdoor stage.
Oh my god.
Wait. Yeah, I thought this cover show was going to be in one of the small bars, one of like the much smaller bars.
Amazing.
Nope.
That's pretty cool.
That'll be pretty cool. Very weird also. But yes, we're doing a fest show. We're scheduling some other live shows, so please keep following us on all the things. You're going to figure it out. We also have merch at terriercult.com. Go to Terrier Cult, go to Friends, go to 2 Minutes to Late Night. You'll see all of our shirts. We have new designs in the works right now. New shit coming up. Speaking of new shit, we have backpacks and towels up there. It's fucking September. It's cold, but guess what? You still need to wash your butt, so get a towel and dry it off. When you wash it, you need it. Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
Clean
That's
butt
it.
crew.
Clean your butt. Loads of
Yeah.
it.
Bye.